She's pulling in endorsement deals at an unprecedented rate, becoming the most marketable WNBA player of all time. Her jersey sales, the highest in league history. Her sponsorship deals, Nike, Gatorade, and dozens of other global brands are lining up. No other rookie has ever had this level of commercial appeal. Clark's impact isn't temporary. She's changing the WNBA permanently. The WNBA isn't just growing, it's exploding. And Caitlin Clark is the reason why. She heard the critics. For Clark, WNBA arenas rarely sold out. The moment she entered the league, Indiana Fever games became the hottest ticket in sports. Road games in New York, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas packed. Even teams that never struggled to sell tickets, like the Chicago Sky and Phoenix Mercury, saw Clark-related attendance spikes. And it wasn't just in-person crowds, TV numbers skyrocketed too. The Indiana Fever's debut game shattered viewership records, pulling in millions of viewers, more than some NBA playoff games. ESPN, ABC, and CBS started prioritizing WNBA broadcasts like never before. Why? Because people were tuning in specifically to watch Clark play. By mid-season, Taurasi's tone changed. Instead of talking about Clark's weaknesses, she was suddenly talking about Clark's work ethic, her ability to handle pressure, and her love for the game. Taurasi even went as far as to embrace Clark post-game, offering her respect in front of the cameras. This wasn't just a small moment, it was a complete reversal. But Taurasi wasn't the only MVP to admit Clark was the real deal. Lisa Leslie made headlines when she publicly stated that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese should share the Rookie of the Year award. From Cheryl Swoops questioning her toughness to Jonquel Jones shutting down false narratives.
Be careful when you say like the Fever fans, because I don't think it's the Fever fans. I think it's the people that wanted Caitlin Clark to be a certain type of way and they thought that she was. And so they became Caitlin Clark fans, assuming that. And then they realized like, oh no, she's actually not racist.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season wasn't just about breaking records. It was about silencing doubters. So how did Clark flip the script and force even her biggest critics to respect her? Let's break it all down. Clark didn't just win over fans, she forced WNBA legends to reevaluate their beliefs.
Brought that noise. And the fact that she can knock down the NBA three-pointer, especially back then, and still get to the rim when you play up on her, like she was cat quick. She just really brought the complete package. She's not just a three-point shooter. She's a great passer, not a mediocre passer, not so-so. She is a great passer.
She made believers out of doubters. And the best part? She's just getting started. Most assists in a single season by a rookie. Clark owns it. Most assists in a single game by a rookie? That's hers too. But she wasn't just dishing out assists. She was a scoring machine. Clark broke multiple three-point shooting records, proving that her limitless range from college translated perfectly to the pro game. And that wasn't even the most impressive part. Clark wasn't just dominating on the court, she was dominating the conversation. Her popularity reached unprecedented levels, and fans made sure the league took notice. The result? Clark received more All-Star votes than any player in WNBA history. More than Breanna Stewart, more than Aja Wilson, more than anyone, ever. Her impact was so undeniable that even WNBA veterans who once questioned her abilities had to acknowledge her greatness. The Caitlin Clark effect is real, measurable, and impossible to ignore. For Caitlin Clark, the WNBA was growing, slowly. After Caitlin Clark, it exploded. More fans, more sellouts, more people watching women's basketball than ever before. And the numbers don't lie. Clark isn't just a player, she's a phenomenon. So how exactly did she turn the WNBA into must-watch television? Let's break it all down. She's changing the WNBA permanently. More fans are watching, more kids are picking up a basketball, more companies are investing. And this is just her first year. What happens when Clark wins championships? What happens when she becomes an even bigger star? The WNBA isn't just growing, it's exploding. And Caitlin Clark is the reason why. She heard the critics.
On to Caitlin Clark and then use her as, like, I guess, like this fuel to be able to be the way that they want it to be. They want her to be the representation of their racism and you know, like their view on the world, and she's not like that.
She stated plainly that Clark wasn't the player people tried to make her out to be. She was just a basketball star who deserved respect. Her words shifted the conversation, forcing people to separate Clark from the drama. And in doing so, Jones made it clear Clark belongs in the WNBA, and no one can take that away from her. Tamika Catchings, the Indiana Fever legend, steps in. That's how many WNBA records Caitlin Clark rewrote in her first season alone. From assists to three-pointers to all-star votes, she didn't just make history, she erased the old records and built new ones in their place. But the real question is, how did she do it? Let's break down the numbers that even Clark's biggest critics can't argue with. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court for her WNBA debut, expectations were sky high. But instead of crumbling under the pressure, she thrived. Her playmaking ability was immediately on display, and it didn't take long for her to start shattering records. Veteran superstars Breanna Stewart and Candace Parker didn't hesitate to give Clark her due. Parker, who has been a face of the league for years, stated that Clark wasn't just helping the WNBA. She was changing the game of basketball, period.
I think that's what she's done for the game, in general. I don't say women's basketball, I say the game of basketball, period. You want to see a show, and I think that that's the biggest thing. You always talk about Steph being a showman. I mean, this is a showman right here.
Yes.
You're able to have sellout crowds to come and see you play. You have student sections that hate you, that want you to lose. That's what sports is, and that's what competition is, and Caitlin's brought all of that and some.
She compared Clark's star power to Steph Curry's influence in the NBA, saying Clark had become a must-watch attraction that fans simply couldn't ignore.
What is she doing for the WNBA?
Obviously, Caitlin Clark effect, being able to come in, but what I think is what she brings.
Yeah.
Coming from the college zone, there's a lot of great rookies that have come in. She's definitely spearheading it all.
She acknowledged that Clark had transformed the Fever franchise overnight. She recognized that Clark wasn't just playing well, she was elevating the entire team. When one of the most respected Indiana Fever legends gives you that kind of praise, it's hard for critics to keep their argument alive. Clark's redemption story was never about words, it was about actions. Clark didn't clap back at critics. She didn't engage in the off-court drama. She just played, and in doing so, she proved every hater wrong. She forced Swoops to watch as her former teammate praised Clark. She had Jonquel Jones publicly shutting down negative narratives. He was carrying the weight of an entire league's future on her shoulders. And if this full circle moment proves anything, it's that she's more than ready for the challenge.
What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where, you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time.
Cheryl Swoops, a four-time WNBA champion and Hall of Famer, made it clear from the start she wasn't a Caitlin Clark believer. She questioned if Clark could handle the physicality of the WNBA. She suggested that Clark's popularity was overhyped. She even made backhanded comments about Clark's rise, implying that other players weren't getting enough credit. But then came Cynthia Cooper, one of Swoop's former teammates and the first ever WNBA MVP. Cooper publicly defended Clark, calling her one of the craftiest players she's ever seen. Rookies are supposed to struggle. They're supposed to take time to adjust. But Clark? She adjusted immediately. Instead of hitting the rookie wall, she only got better as the season went on. She wasn't just breaking records, she was changing the way people viewed rookie seasons. Clark's record-breaking season does more than add numbers to her resume. It sends a message to the WNBA, to her critics, and to the fans. She's not just a great rookie, she's a generational talent. And the scary part? This is just year one. Imagine being a little girl watching your basketball hero dominate the game. Now imagine years later, that same hero is standing in front of you, praising your greatness. For Caitlin Clark, that moment happened with Maya Moore.
All I ever wanted to do was meet her. I didn't have a phone. My dad didn't have his phone, so I just ran over. It's like, can you sign my shirt? Signed my shirt, gave her a hug, ran away. It's like the most vivid memory I have of women's basketball growing up. And honestly, I still tell everybody that story because it meant so much to me. It's like